So good morning, everybody. What I'm trying to do today is to present an epistemological perspective on the psychological science accelerator. And the psychological science accelerator is, or the PSA, as I will call it during the talk, is one of the most recent attempts in psychology to overcome the replicability crisis. As the most part of you are probably aware, psychologists tried in several ways to overcome and take into account the crisis and to estimate the real dimension of the problem. The PSA is a different attempt, for it is a network of laboratories trying to overcome the crisis. So they try to make the replication labor somehow institutionalized, and the aim is to accelerate the accumulation of evidence in psychological science. The initial intuition, the seminal idea, was formulated by Christopher Carter in a blog post a couple of years ago, and the initial idea was to create something similar to the CERN, but for psychology. So the metaphor of the accelerator was the kick for the project. And as we can today read in this mission statement of the project, the PSA aims to accelerate the accumulation of reliable and generalizable evidence in psychological science. So this challenge cannot be adequately met by a single researcher or small team. So they attempt to meet this challenge with a distributed laboratory network that is ongoing, diverse, and inclusive. As you can see in the map appearing in the homepage of the website of the project, now as today there are more than 500 laboratories that form this network from more than 70 countries all over the world. I emphasize here the words ongoing, diverse, and inclusive, because these elements mark a difference with previous projects in the psychological area dealing with the replication problem. So the first point, the PSA is ongoing. It is not a project limited in time. It is not a project only considering a predetermined set of studies. So it is meant not to have time or task limitations. So we have a huge network of laboratories which aim to be a long-lasting, to construct a long-lasting collaboration. In this sense, the PSA is open both to the replication of classical studies and of new and ongoing studies, so to create immediately a big data set for new studies. It is not so committed to the estimation of the replication rate of the field, like previous projects tried to do. And it is grounded on the idea that increasing multi-site collaborations will demonstrate that psychological science can make more progress a lot faster if scientists work collectively. So the emphasis of the project is on the communication among the members, among the laboratories, and on collective work. And this statement, we can find statements in this sense both in the original presentation of the project and in the official documents explaining the actual functioning of it. So the emphasis is on transparency and on open science practices, and also on the democracy of procedures, on the idea that collaboration can really fasten and get science better and less prone to the problems of unreproducible results. In order to implement this kind of collaboration, of course, the PSAs need to, in the course of time, the number of laboratories rapidly become really a huge number. So the organizational structure, which initially was thought to be really relaxed and a lot of direct democracy and similar, now the PSA has a really complex organizational structure. It is much more similar to universities, department, and it is distributed worldwide. So it is a complex organizational structure. I'm not interested now to give you the details of all the committees, but what it is important is that we, as you can see in the table, we have more about a dozen of committees, and direct democracy is not actually present now in the PSA, of course, because the participants are really, really many. So they have committees for almost everything. How does the PSA function in short? It has 4 research phases. The first one, which is the submission and evaluation phase. In this phase, all the members, that is, all the laboratories, can present a proposal. That is, they can suggest one study to be replicated by the network. So the committees make the evaluation, they decide which project is worth being replicated by all these laboratories, and then the same study is replicated simultaneously with the same strategy by all the teams, all the members that accept to replicate it. So the material is prepared by the proposing author with the committees, and in phase 3, that is corresponding to the implementation of the experiment of the replication, there is really collaborative part of the PSA, in the sense that all the laboratories interested in making this replication receive the material already ready for the sample administration to the sample, and they collect data. Then these data are shared on an online platform, which is the website of the PSA, and the 4th phase, that is analysis and dissemination of the work, is again up to the proposing author with the committees of the PSA. So the important point is that even if the emphasis of the PSA is on collaboration and really on creating a collaborative endeavor for research, the only phase of research in which this collaboration takes place, in which communication is central, is the implementation phase. So an important element is also that the responsibility for the project and for the related publications is shared by the PSA as a whole and the proposing author. The collaborating laboratories appear as co-authors of the paper, but they don't really have an active role in writing down the paper and in making the analysis. So an important element of this is the general functioning of the PSA. What I want to do now in the remaining part of the talk, yes, is to say something, to make a sort of epistemological analysis of it. A first important element is due to the very name of the PSA. That is the acceleration, its emphasis on the acceleration. And this is important though it is a replication tool, it functions as a replication tool, the focus of the project is not directly on replication, but rather on the acceleration of the field. And this acceleration is meant to derive as a direct consequence of increasing collaboration and communication among scientists. So the underlying thesis is that psychological science needs to be accelerated. These accelerations derive from overcoming replicability crisis, and this can be done by increasing communication, direct communication among laboratories. So the issue of accelerations have several, according to me, has several problems, and in particular we focus on 2 of them. The first one is the relation among communication and acceleration. And the second one is the underlying understanding of acceleration as a faster data collection. So briefly, communication about communication and acceleration. It's a consequence of increased collaboration and communication among laboratories. The description of the research phases. Collaboration and communication actually take place only at phase 3, that is the data collection phase. So it is, at one hand, it is not clear at all that effective, direct, transparent communication can really take place in a group of the PSA size, of course. On the other hand, full communication within a group of scientists does not per se guarantee that they will converge on the best solution, the best result, that they will reach knowledge about something. Because they might be faster in converge on a result, but it is possible that convergence is on a wrong result, or that convergence is not reliable enough. And this can be this possibility is investigated by Zollman in his network epistemology, which opens up the possibility that fully communicating networks might constitute a suboptimal structure for science or group of scientists. That there is full communication, initial discouraging results can propagate rapidly in the network and thus can make the community abandon an objectively superior path of research. I don't have time now to enter the details of Zollman's network epistemology. What it is important to stress is that, of course, it is not the case that Zollman's results are perfectly and directly applicable to scientific research, but I think that Zollman's result opens up a possibility. I'd say there is a the possibility of a Zollman's-like scenario for the PSA. And the reason is that in the construal of Zollman's proposal, communication among the scientists, the nodes of the network, only pertains the evidence acquired. Usually science doesn't work this way. But the PSA, in its collaborative phase, which is the phase of data collection, presently works this way. That is, each group of scientists share the results, the evidence acquired on the website, on the online platform. So there is no open discussion of the evidence acquired. So there is a limited understanding of communication in the PSAs, which opens up the possibility that this open communication, direct communication among the members is not the optimal the optimal construal of the network to obtain knowledge. Also, as I mentioned, the other problem is that the way in which the PSA leaders think to accelerate this psychology is through massive data collection. The underlying idea is that if we collect enough replications without other features, but simply the same replicated studies in different parts of the world, we have a lot of data, and this data collection constitutes the acceleration of psychological science. There is no discussion, nor in official documents, nor in the initial statements concerning the theory formulations on these data collections or new hypotheses formed in collaborative ways. So I wonder whether massive data collection really are enough to guarantee the acceleration of scientific field. And I think that the PSA need to explain how evidence accumulation connects to other epistemic data. So it is not enough to have so many data. We have to interpret them and to understand, also to help overcoming replication crisis in aspects concerning the theorizing. So in the conclusion, I think that it is really important to consider from an epistemological, a philosophical point of view, the PSA, because it is a sort of open air laboratory showing how an epistemic institution construct specifically addressing the replication labor can work. There are some specificity. For example, as I said, the PSA should consider how other research steps, for example, the data analysis, the theory formulations, the follow-up of replicated studies, could benefit from a collaborative endeavor, because this collaborative endeavor is now constructed, is now ongoing, so they should exploit its point of strength and not simply use it instrumentally to collect more massive data. And so it is important, I think, for the PSA to improve its communicative structure, so to strengthen actual collaboration among the members. I was thinking about, for example, the issue of trust and the false trust we talked about yesterday, because as we know, studying groups, the ontology of groups, or for example, Bacharach's and certain approach to groups, that being part, feeling member of the group, people have mutual trust in a different way. So, for example, being part of the PSA may enhance the level of trust within the field. So the PSA can play this role, but it really needs to improve its communicative structure before. Another important point is to reflect over the role of committees, because in its standing organization, these committees really have a lot of power, and the contribution of laboratories get lost in this really important construal of committees. So perhaps the role of democracy should be better understood in the sense of epistemic democracy, peer control on the studies and the like. And also the same goes for the strategies for responsibility distributions among the collaborating laboratories, because in this way, in the actual functioning of the PSA, there is no possibility to share responsibility. So, and also there are limits in the homogeneous data collection. It cannot help to solve all the problems due to the replicability. And as a last point, I wanted to suggest, I cannot now analyze better, is on the role of competition, because within the PSA there is no possibility of competition among laboratories. Perhaps this could be a specific trait of epistemic institutions dealing with replicability, but we need to study this point better, because I think that it will give us a completely different sociology of science, and it deserves to be studied more fully. Okay, thank you.